This is AgGrad Live.
We have all of the different segments within the cotton.
The show that explores what it's really like to work in the ag industry.
So making sure that we get policy and regulatory issues
straight from the people who live it every day. We are live, AgGrad Nation. This is going to be a special episode of AgGrad Live. We have been, as you know, if you've been following along, doing career profiles and kind of career tips here and there. And I've wanted to bring on these two special guests for a long time. If you don't follow our Snapchat, you really ought to. If you have Snapchat, we do takeovers regularly. But what has become the favorite part of the AgGrad Snapchat is this thing every Thursday called Fast Ag News. And it's with Hannah and Fricke, and they bring kind of the headlines from agriculture from the week in a fun and always entertaining way. So to give you a taste, I actually have last week's Fast Ag News. So if you're watching here, this is the first time I've ever done like a screen share. So hopefully this works. But if you don't hear it if you don't hear the volume, let me know, because this is kind of a test for us. But here we go. We're going to show last week's Fast Ag News.
That's our last.
Yeah, and that's the last one.
Oh. All right.
Well, they can just catch us this week.
They got it.
You have to catch them this week. We tried it. We had the volume with the snaps backwards. So we are going to try this again, and it is going to work. But thank you for bearing with us. Instead, what we have for you actually is the real thing. So here is joining us, Hannah and Fricke. Welcome to the show. And let me get you on here. All right. Here you are. Welcome to AgGrad Live, guys.
Wow,
Thanks for having us. Yeah. Wow.
Is this your first live performance?
Actually not. No, I go on live every week through my current job at a radio station. It's kind of similar to what I do on AgGrad, but I'm on Facebook Live about every week.
Okay, well, maybe start then. Let's give everyone, because they see you every week. They know about your personalities, but they maybe don't know or don't remember much about your background. So let's have each of you introduce yourself for starters.
Go ahead, Hannah. Ladies first.
Okay, so I'm Hannah. I'm currently a junior at University of Nebraska-Lincoln, studying agriculture communications. My minor's in entrepreneurship. But I say that every week. So I'm from Wakefield, Nebraska, which is in the northeast corner of Nebraska. I come from a small diversified farm. We have corn, soybeans, alfalfa, beef cattle, and soon to be chickens. I have had a couple different internships, all revolve around communications. My favorite, maybe I shouldn't say my favorite, but because I've enjoyed all of them, but I love farm broadcasting through my current internship at a radio station. Our tagline is the best farm station in the nation in Nebraska, so I have to brag a little bit. And I love communicating for agriculture using my voice through broadcasting. Who are you?
You sound way better than what I am. Actually, I graduated from UNL, and I was an animal science. It's diversified ag, but it's now called ag science, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I graduated from the same entrepreneurship program, the Engler Agribusiness program, which is an excellent one. And I think that's the first time me and Hannah ever had met.
Yeah.
And so from there, I was involved in some communication stuff. Like we were the Collegiate Farm Bureau that had the Meatless Mondays debacle with our student government, and I did some other stuff with communication with consumers. So kind of all these kind of fun things brought together. And yeah.
What do you do now?
Oh, I farm. I do a lot of farming. And then I also started a side business, which is probably a thing for another time, but a cool pursuit on the side as well. So a lot of fun stuff going on in my life.
Very cool. And I'm just going to awkwardly pop in here in the corner every once in a while to ask you a question and then get off the screen so you all can continue to be the stars of the show here. But just, if you can, take us back to when you started Fast Ag News. Why did you start Fast Ag News, and what has changed about it from then to now, if anything?
Well, Lukas has the original idea. He was the one that contacted me. And for background, we didn't really know each other. I knew of him because everyone knows Lukas. And so he randomly sent me a Facebook message, was like, hey, this is super crazy, but I've got an idea. And that idea came off of actually something I think you were looking for some sort of content creator on Snapchat. Maybe you can tell me.
Yeah, no, I saw it on Snapchat, and you're like, hey, we want someone every week to talk. And I was like, I love that. I love self-promotion. So I was like, one big thing that I know a lot of like our generation is they don't really pay attention to the news that well. Sometimes they're not very well versed in the stories that matter to us. So it's like, I should find someone because everyone's going to hate me after a while just talking to them. So partner up with someone to kind of split the load. And she's very knowledgeable about the ag industry and very connected. So it worked out pretty good. She said yes.
Yeah, it all started over a Facebook message. I got it. I was sitting at our state FFA convention a year ago last week. So I think we're coming up on a year of the weekly takeovers. But it's turned into way more than we could have either imagined. We had no idea we'd be sitting here today.
Yeah. The slug status, I mean, let's be honest. No, I'm joking. I think we were super nervous the first time. We had all of our words written out exactly to the T.
We had like, Lucas says this, Hannah says this, Lucas says this, and we used to pre-record them the day before and then post them, so we weren't even live on the day-to-day. And now where it is today, I'm like, hey, Lucas, I've got a story up. Or Lucas will be like, hey, I've got some time, I'll do something. So we don't have that quite back and forth like what we used to, but we have gotten more comfortable with ourselves and taking over every week that we don't necessarily plan as much as what we used to. So that's been kind of fun just to see our own personal growth through it.
Yeah.
And how do you tell somebody who doesn't either have Snapchat or has never seen it, how do you describe it?
3 ag stories you need to know, plus 1 fact that'll make you go, whoa.
That's kind of our tagline.
Yeah, we try to find, throughout the week and through, the week previous, we try to find those things that really make a difference to our industry or that people should probably pay attention to that can lead to something bigger. I know we talked a lot about like the ag barometer when we very first started. Mm-hmm. We brought that up a couple weeks ago, how things have kind of done, and like market forecasting, or we talked about OCHA. That was a really big one that we talked about.
Yeah, and obviously we've talked a lot about trade and tariffs, shared a lot of those stories because those are really hot topics right now. But at the same time, I feel like we touch on stories that maybe haven't been talked about as much. And I, since I'm in farm broadcasting, I see what's going on every week or every day, sometimes every hour. And so sometimes we do touch on some of those stories that are maybe more have human interest and not necessarily considered ag news, just sharing some of those feel-good stories in agriculture because there's a lot of those to share.
Yeah.
And what do you do to prepare? So tomorrow's Thursday. You got Fast Ag News. At this point, where are you at for tomorrow's show? And then what will happen between today and tomorrow to make it, because it's fun every week. It's like they are the most relevant headlines and they are entertaining and you do go, whoa, a lot of times. So what are you going to do between now and then to make sure that it's good?
So we usually who's going to start it.
Yeah, we gotta get a game plan.
We try to go every other person. And so if she wants to do the first one, she can do it, or we try to alternate it so it's not person after person.
Yeah, and leading up to Thursday, just in my current role, since I'm know what's going on or what we're broadcasting on our radio station, I take those news stories and I send them to myself. And so on Thursday, I can go through those news stories that I thought had some interest, and I can decide. Sometimes I have 6 that I've sent to myself. Sometimes I've only had 1, so then I have to go through and figure out what's been talked about the most. But preparation-wise, if we're being honest, we don't do as much as what we used to, just because we are more comfortable deciding what stories to choose and to talk about. And so as of right now, we haven't necessarily done much to prepare for tomorrow, but it's also normally we have a phone call Wednesday evening. I said, hey, what's your schedule tomorrow? And we go from there.
And usually I feel really bad, but Thursdays always seem to be the days that everything falls apart for us.
Yeah.
Usually it's always really, really good, or it's really, really bad for me, which I'm like, can we just do it on Wednesdays? But then we're like, Thursdays, that's the day.
Yeah.
So it's always kind of funny. Like, she's like, you need to get your story up. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in the middle of a hog pit right now, like
Yeah.
straightening it out and fixing stuff. So it's always kind of funny and comical what I get caught in or
Yeah,
you get caught in.
for me, Thursdays are my busiest class schedule days, and I have the most on my plate on Thursday. So it's been interesting, especially this semester, to juggle it.
Well, you should be a little bit more realistic. It's when she's actually at class or she's not halfway across the world at some cool trip. I mean, it's more, where in the world is Hannah this week, is what half the shows have been.
Yeah, I am notorious for missing class. All great experiences. Class is super valuable, but I've really taken advantage of a lot of opportunities outside of class.
Yeah.
But it's been cool because you've been able to broadcast live from where you are, wherever you are in some cases. Where do you guys find the stories?
I like the daily emails, so if I like them, she may send them to herself, but I'll flag them in my email. If there's something important, then I'll reread them, is usually what I do. I like getting them through the email every day, or I do go to Twitter quite a bit and see,
what's being talked about.
Yeah, just go into the ag Twitter sphere. I mean, if people like to delve into that dungeon and find out what people are complaining about is always a really good one.
Yeah, for me, the first place I look for our stories is at Caribbean.com, which is the radio station I look for. And we do a pretty good job about covering both local and regional and national news within agriculture. And so we have all those stories archived throughout the week. And so it's just convenient for me because I know what stories we broadcasted. And so that tells me which ones are important this week and which ones we should probably talk about on Snapchat. But like him, I find stories from Twitter, Facebook. I follow a couple of different outlets on Facebook, and I don't know. We're almost a year into this, and I just feel like we've been able to just pay attention throughout the week and on in all platforms and just put them together by Thursday.
Yeah, we usually kind of also fight over the really good stories so we can make something juicy about. Like last week, she's like, "Oh, I definitely knew you were going to take tariffs about pork." And
I
was
wanted
like,
that story,
I know.
but he's a pork guy, so I'm like, okay, whatever, you can talk about it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of behind the scenes. We're like, I want to talk about that. No, I want to talk about that.
Yeah. So always take the fun ones, and then she gets upset. Well,
Yeah, and vice versa.
yeah.
We juggle each week about who gets the fun stories.
Can you remember a fun one that you've said in the past, either what your line was or an example of what it looked like? And I actually think I think I have an old show in the queue that we can maybe try again since the first one didn't work.
I think I said the oval orange. That one was pretty funny when we talked about citrus greening. I think that was one. Didn't we?
You had a lot of fun with that. Also, Lucas is just naturally more funny, and we're both being super professional now, but you get Lucas talking, and he can mimic anyone, and so normally he takes the more fun ones, just because he's better at it, and just in our friendship, yeah.
Hannah, I should say, a lot of the jokes I always send to Hannah, and she's like, "No, you want Tim to get mad? You want to get fired from this?"
I screen his jokes, and so if there's anything that's been said that's maybe.
She's like, "You can't make fun of beef." I'm like, "Well, pork is the best meat." No, I'm joking.
Yeah. So he's taken the more funnier ones, but that orange one, the citrus one, was pretty funny.
I mean, it always was pretty cool. At the very start, we fangirled really hard, and I got a friendship with Kristen Clark through this, so that's pretty cool. We're pretty tight. We're BFFs. I'm going to use that term pretty generously. But one time, Jay Hill referenced our story. I think me and Hannah about hit the floor. The sled status, that's pretty cool too. You've had it more than I have.
Yeah, well, just being able to travel, I've ran into people who follow every week, and it's same way. This works in radio too, but when you meet people who listen and watch you every week in real life, you're like, oh yeah, I am talking to people. It's one thing to see the numbers of who watch, but when we get to meet people, and we've totally sidetracked from the original question.
Sorry.
As we know.
Welcome to how we do our story.
Yeah.
No, it is great, and I noticed that on Twitter, you were kind of fangirling out over Kristen Clark, and the next thing I know, you're in her profile pic, and I'm like, geez, Lucas is He's really moving up in the world.
We're not necessarily shy about who we're all about. His another favorite is Daniel Hayden. I love watching his. And one time he messaged us through the Acurate account like, "Good job" or something like that, and I like screenshot it, sent it to him, called him. I was like, "Oh my goodness, we made it!"
And to the people that are watching, please respond to us because we like the interaction. If we're wrong, tell us.
Yeah.
Which that's like a big thing. Interaction's cool.
There might be such a thing that we think we're funnier than what we actually are.
That's true.
That's probably true. But yeah, we like to have fun, and hopefully it comes across like that.
Well, for the record, I cannot see me ever getting mad at you guys about a story. So, give Lukas a little bit of leeway on the jokes. Let's go ahead.
Maybe I don't need to screen your jokes anymore.
Yeah, you probably do because they're probably not funny.
Well, here I'm gonna try to see if we can get this show up and running because I think it would be fun. Basically, I want to use this screen sharing feature. Let me see if this works.
I think so, yeah.
Oh, it is backwards again, isn't it?
Oh, this is one of the first ones, I think. So weird watching myself.
Yeah, this was shorter,
Yeah. Yeah, it was about a year ago. This was before I learned to use captions on Snapchat, so you have no idea. If you don't have your sound out, you have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, you pointed to over to me.
Oh.
Can you hear it?
Oh,
yeah. This is the first one.
Was it?
Yeah, because I did lighting there because I was trying to be super professional. I got lighting from our shop. This is in our feed mill, and I hung lights up. That's like an LED light, so I get the glow.
All right. So that's a little taste. If anybody's watching that isn't on Snapchat, was that the first one you guys said?
I think so.
One of the first ones, yeah, because that was first or second week.
Yeah.
Well, I want to know because I know from doing other shows like this one, the hardest thing to do is just to show up every week and have something. What keeps you both motivated? Because you both have a ton of other stuff going on to keep doing this, and what do you hope it does kind of in the future?
Yeah, on a week-to-week basis, sometimes it is hard. Like last week I was sick and not dealing with stuff, but busy at State FFA, and that's just one example. And so sometimes it is really hard, and if you look at the time, sometimes we don't get anything posted until 5 o'clock at night. And one night I remember it's like just after midnight when I got done posting. So sometimes our day-to-day is not timely. But I think personally what keeps me going is just the news cycle. Like it is one of my passions to be a communicator for agriculture, and that is showing up and bringing the news and bringing those human interest stories because I think it's really important. And I like to know what's going on in trade because that impacts the farmer in the field, to know what's going on with tariffs, like that impacts all of us. And so just showing up every week to tell people what's going on, it just simply keeps me going.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm not gonna lie,
too.
it's a lot of fun, and like interacting with people and getting their opinions, like that's the cool part too. Like I appreciate you sharing that. That's like, I mean, yeah, even though those comments are kind of far and in between, because no one likes to talk to the people on Snapchat apparently, except the brave few. It is kind of nice to like. I really appreciate that. Like going back to the Jay Hill thing, like he shared that from our Snapchat to his because he thought it was that good of a news story, and like. That's why we wanted to do this, so people would pay attention to the stories that they need to know that do make a difference in their lives. So that's why we keep doing it every week.
Well, I gotta give you all credit because I talk to a lot of people that have aspirations for communicating about agriculture, even ag communications majors that they ask, well, how can I get a job so I can start communicating with people about agriculture? And I love to point to you all as examples of you don't need really permission to do this. I asked for somebody to help us out with Snapchat. You stepped up and you have really just taken it and run with it from there. So I guess what advice would you give to people that feel like they want to contribute to communicating about agriculture, but don't feel ready? What would you tell them?
Just start.
Baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps. So you don't need to have 10,000 followers to make an impact. Just start and show up. I think of personally the people that I enjoy following the most in reference to social media, they're in my feed every day, and I've created that what feels like a connection, although I've never met them in real life. And so for people who wanting to get into it, you just got to start showing up and making those online relationships, because one day those will turn into real life relationships. I've met people through social media and created those friendships, which is so cool to do. And it just starts by posting, and maybe I share too much, or maybe I share not enough, but I just try to post as much as I can and what's relevant to what's going on in my life or the farm. I love posting from the farm. Farm pictures. That's my advice. Just start little by little.
And I think one other big thing that people need to remember, even though we are in agriculture and it makes a huge part of my life, like I live and breathe this every single day, and I keep involving myself with it, but we do have other lives outside of this. And especially when dealing with, people who want to know more about what we do, they also want to know more about us, because that plays a significant part of the product that we have and that we produce. So Brooke Clay, Rural Gone Urban.
Both fangirls.
Yeah, super cool lady. I went to a pork media thing where I got to meet Kristen Clark. And it was our first time. Like, we ran over to each other in McDonald's parking lot, and I was just like, I can't breathe, it's you. But might I digress?
He's not dramatic at all. Sometimes Lucas is dramatic, but his first meeting with Kristen Clark was not dramatic at all.
But anyways, Brooke gave a good rule of doing 4 things that like interest you, like posting wise, like whether that be like books, movies, shows, your interest to one thing about farming, so people can build that relationship with you personally, as well as what you do every single day, instead of just being farm picture, farm picture, farm picture, or farm post, farm post, farm post. You need to put some other content out there that gives you a personality as well. So you're not just a bot or, a troll just constantly putting the same thing out there. So that would be a huge thing that I would put to people, because people are interested about our lives. Like, they do care what we do outside of, feeding pigs or communicating and being on the radio. Like, we do have other lives. Yeah. So I think that's a really important part about communicating with ag.
Yeah. Like, for a personal example of myself is how I kind of got outside of my own circle. I'm in a sorority, and I'm one of the few farm girls in the sorority. And so those girls know me as a student and what I am on campus, but I get to have those conversations about agriculture, and I've had some really interesting conversations with them, but I'm not in they know I'm in agriculture, but when I'm at a sorority, I don't live and breathe my agriculture roots, just because that's not, I'm just there to be part of the house and make some friends there. And then I get to have those agriculture related conversation, and that's just a personal example of how I've gone outside my own circle to connect with other people.
And always be ready to speak up is the other thing. Like, there's a couple times that I was flying and stuff and going places, and like I sat next to like the vice president of IBM, like printers or something like that. And I had a whole conversation with him for the 1.5-hour ride back to Omaha. And we talked about farming. He's like, I really never knew that. And I never knew that there were young people in farming too. Like, that's another thing.
Yeah.
Like, if we don't say anything, people are just going to think that it's, you know, a gray-haired or woman or guy out in the middle of a field who's near death in overalls. Like, there's a lot of young people in our industry, and we need to be very adamant about sharing that too, because that puts a face behind the product again. And the other thing is to keep it positive and support all of ag. That's always a really important thing, especially with it. Don't put down another part of ag, even though I joked about beef, but it's important, you know, rising tide raises all boats, and we all need to be team players and stuff and support everybody in our industry, because we all are affected by it in the end.
That's such good advice. I think you both have exciting things planned. One of you has a business, I know, Lucas. Hannah, you're going to be graduating soon.
Yeah, I'll graduate next May.
Yes. So tell us about your plans, and how can somebody who's watching here support you?
Yeah, so I am actually going back to our farm. We had a unique opportunity arise almost a year ago. There's this really cool project going on in eastern Nebraska that my family is part of, and we are actually becoming contract chicken growers for Lincoln Premium Poultry, and Lincoln Premium Poultry is owned by Costco. And so I will be going back to the farm and doing the day-to-day operations in those chicken barns, which if you had told me I was going to be saying this a year ago, I would have laughed at you. But when I came to college, I knew I loved the farm, but it was a typical story of I didn't know what I had until I didn't have it. And so it was a dream for me to go back to the farm, and because of the opportunity to become contract growers, I'll be able to do that. But with that, I will still be able to be involved on a communication standpoint. And what that looks like, I'm not really for sure. I'm hoping with my future internship, I can continue working for them, or maybe continue working for the radio station digitally from home, but also still be able to be at home at the farm working with the family. So yeah, that's news that's been kind of new within these past few months, but I am really proud to say that I'm going back to the family farm, and I'm really excited about it.
And I'm starting a side business.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
Casually.
pretty cool. Oh,
Casually.
yeah, casually. So I work at home now with my brother and stuff. He's actually trying to call right as we're doing this, but sorry about that. So I do the pig stuff every day. I grain feed, take care of them. But I also started this blockchain business. It's a pretty easy way to say it, but working with producers and livestock in general to create a easier way of sharing information and keeping track of a lot of the paperwork that we're having to do every single day, and kind of creating transparency with our food products. So I literally just kind of launched it for commercial use now. So
like this past
month, I've kind of really started, looking for people to get involved with it, I guess is the biggest thing. I've been working on it for probably about 1.5 years now. So it's been kind of a fun journey. I originally did it with a pharmaceutical company, not this, but a similar kind of project. So, I mean, I ended up coming back home and doing my own thing. So, yeah, it's pretty exciting. All of you out there follow Chorchek, which is pretty fun to say that now. So, you guys want to. So, yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. Follow my social media to find out more about it, and keep watching Fast Ag, because I don't think we're going to go away anytime soon. We like this too much, so.
Great. Well, guys, thank you so much. So obviously Fast Ag, they can see on AgGrad Snapchat. How can they reach out to you two directly?
We're most active on Twitter, I would say. My handle's at Miss MISSBORG2, Miss Borg 2, and Lucas
is at Lukas Fricke, and so is my Instagram.
Yeah, we're fairly active on social media, so you can find us anywhere and reach out and say hey, or say where you're watching from. That's another thing is I love to see where people are from and and what their own agriculture story is, or if they're not in agriculture and watching, that's always fun as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, guys, I cannot thank you enough for Fast Ag News. It's been a huge part of AgRed, and for being on the show today. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Having us, Tim.
Thank you for joining AgRed Live. Visit aggrad.com, that's AGGRAD, to join the community, create your profile, and learn more about careers in the agriculture industry.